Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. I'm Audrey, a paralegal turned stay-at-home mom who loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild, topics may be triggering, viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's get started on today's case. In 1988, sometime around her 24th birthday, Jane Reth killed her husband of 2 months, forever 26-year-old Scott Colville, chopped his body into pieces with an axe, and disposed of his parts in various garbage bins in Sitka, Alaska. Janet got away with murder for 23 years. This is their story. Jane Nina Suchina was born in Indonesia on March 20th of 1964. She was the only child of Frong and Lily Suchina. The Suchinas immigrated from Indonesia to Glendale, California, and became naturalized citizens in February of 1980. During their naturalization process, they decided to change their last name to Lim. I'm assuming this was done for a fresh start name or for Anglo pronunciation purposes. Jane Nina Suchina graduated from Glendale High School and went to La Sierra College, now known as La Sierra University in Riverside, California. Another lovely Seventh-day Adventist institution, Jane also went on to study at Loma Linda University, where she obtained a degree in physical therapy. Those who knew Jane described her as friendly, fun, and flirty. Scott Michael Colville was born on April 12, 1962. Scott was the only child to Rita Wade Colville and Kenneth Colville of San Diego, California. Scott took a year off, or should I say on, after high school as he volunteered his time and devoted it to missionary trips to Micronesia. Those who knew Scott describe him as adventurous and impulsive. After this, he attended La Sierra College, where he was a biology major. It was also at La Sierra where he met Jane. They bonded over being only childs, and their friendship blossomed into romance. Scott decided to drop out his junior year and went on a fishing quest in Alaska, where he worked in a canning factory and pulp mill. A lot of us joke when we are little that someday we want to become marine biologists, but Scott really meant it. Marine biology was his passion, and he admired the ocean. When talking about fish, his eyes would light up. Scott and Jane maintained a long-distance relationship, and he proposed to her at her graduation. They got married in October of 1987 and even returned to San Diego in February of 1988, where they had their big church wedding. A wedding her future mother-in-law would later say she did not think was going to happen because they had been fighting. She and her husband decided to mind their business, and to their surprise, the wedding went through. The newlyweds returned to Alaska after the celebration and returned to normal life until it turned nothing but normal. It is said that while Scott seemed to bounce job to job, Jane was able to land steady employment at Alaska's healthcare system as a physical therapist. However, while Scott liked the reclusiveness Alaska offered, Jane found it to become isolating and started feeling resentment towards her husband. A month after the wedding, Rita and Kenneth Colville got a call from the newlyweds saying they needed advice after a heated argument. Rita described Scott and Jane's relationship as hot and cold, without surprise if he ever asked for divorce. In April of 1988, Rita Wade Coville called her son to wish him a happy birthday. The call to her son just rang and rang without an answer or answering machine. Next time she kind of sort of heard from her son was around Mother's Day, when she got a card from her daughter-in-law's handwriting that said, "Love, Jane and Scott," postmarked from San Bernardino, California. Assuming the newlyweds were probably visiting Jane's family near San Bernardino, she didn't think much of it, although she was a little hurt they weren't included in the trip to California, as they lived there as well. However, she also chalked it up to Scott's usual behavior, as she also admitted to not always knowing what was going on in her son's private life. Scott's mom was convinced that substance abuse was not a factor or reason for her son's vanishing, though she does admit she knew he smoked pot on occasion. Her weekly calls to her son and his new wife went unanswered. The check she sent for his birthday went uncashed. Then, one day, her weekly call to her son was met with a recording that the number had been discontinued and no longer in service. This prompted Rita to reach out to Scott's friend, and they told her that they had not heard from Scott since early April. Rita Coville would later come to say that the biggest telltale sign of suspicion that Jane was responsible for her son's disappearance was the fact that she never reported her husband missing.